Before we start, let me do some clarifications. Spice levels varies in the community, from one torch that means steamy kisses to a full-out smut, very detailed sexual encounters, plural. I'll be talking here about the range of books that goes full base and forward. Alright, here we go. 12 years ago, I read my first novel. It was called Fallen. Many of you may remember this book and feel nostalgic about it. For me, it was the first time I genuinely bought a book and finished it. I was 13 and from that day forward, reading became an escapade. Especially fantasy. And I've always read stories with romance in it, which are still my go-to books these days. It can be about something else, but the protagonist needs to have a love interest. And these romance books, I've always liked them with little to no eroticism. It used to be that most of the time, if I pick a book, this one will be constrained to just kissing, which makes sense because I mostly read YA. But thinking back, I do remember reading a good amount of steamy romance back then. In my case, it was because I enjoyed the time travel trope, and for some reason, all those books always have some spice. Smutty books have always been there. But I've been watching videos criticize the amount of adult scenes that are now new books, and I wondered, could it be that now there are more people publishing novels and thus there is more availability of these books in the market? Or is it a disproportionate occurrence, where there is more spice per book than before? I tried doing some research on the number of spicy books releases and I'm a terrible investigator. I ended up asking AI, but I could not find any tangible data since the numbers vary way too much. So I will have to go with what I've been experiencing over the past 10 years. The romance genre has quite morphed during this time. Let's say that we used to have fantasy romance and spicy books on their own separate categories of books, sometimes interlapping. But as of right now, ever more fantasy books include adult scenes, thus replacing the standalone spicy choice with a more enticing romantic story that includes your dirty pleasures. And unfortunately, these new methods often do not specifically disclose that they have adult scenes, and do not count as such. You could go to the romance section and half the books will have hardcore spice and you couldn't be able to tell who is who. When before, it was pretty obvious which one had adult content and they were adequately separated. But despite this mess, I believe it is starting to get out of control. But before touching that topic, I want to talk a little bit about some claims people are making. How books nowadays are full of degeneracy and TikTok is just a cauldron of bad influences. And that last one about TikTok, I kind of agree, but that will be a point for later. What I do want to mention is that erotic literature have been present for some time in our modern novels. The 70s and 80s were wild, guys, with all the sexual revolution. This is not to say we didn't have erotica before, but I'm talking about the modern mass production of books, a modern style of literature. There has been a big selection of these books for more than 30 years now. It's nothing new, and TikTok didn't magically make it a trend. It was already there, and it became more popular. There is a huge amount of pocketbooks out there that I've been seeing since I arrived at this country, and if you know, they mostly contain erotic. You readily see them now, they're like dinosaur bones. It used to be that it was very easy to spot a spicy book back in the day. Either they had a topless man in the cover, some suggestive objects, or it was one of these miniature books. But nowadays it is not as obvious. Nowadays, publishers disguise their cover titles, and I believe it has a lot to do with certain designs selling more. It is more common now for readers to go for the aesthetic of the books, and publishers also took notice of the complaint against realistic humans on covers. But we do need to talk about the increasing presence of spice in every new book. Because even if we have now merged erotica with all the others, I do feel that even those that don't need a spice have them anyway, including YA novels. You see, ACOTAR and Fourth Wing are under this book mixture, and they have the YA seal, the spice having explicit content. And this is definitely new. I read many of the popular series back in the day, and no YA ever had explicit content. At most, some steamy kisses at the end, and we have Twilight, where they actually make a baby. That book, in today's day, would have been explicit for sure. And that is my point of reference regarding this over-sexualization. Because to this point, I will say that it was an exaggeration when people criticized the amount of smut women were reading, as if that was something of the last few years, because it is not. There have been a huge amount of erotica running around since the 90s. We just didn't have TikTok to share it, and now we do. But then, I believe things have gotten out of control. The internet exacerbates everything it touches, and the most scandalous things are what attract the most views. This created a culture around spiciness to the point that it's a whole personality. And the new generation of readers have started their reading journey with explicit content, including in their own section, the YA, which is mind-boggling. I believe this has led to a big portion of the reader base being so exposed to erotica to the point that anything that doesn't have it is boring. They are expecting to have a spice, and I think this has led more writers to include adult scenes on their books to attract more readers. It's a sick cycle that naturally proceeds this way. On my end, this is actually something that do affect me. I tend to skip spicy scenes, I've always done it, and if the book is a standalone, it is not a big problem for me, although it will depend if it is too early. But when the main couple do the deed in the first book, and we still have 2 more to go, I lose interest, because this often means the relationship is set now in stone, and now I don't have anything to look forward to, romance-wise. Or on the other hand, we are presented to an annoying plot with breakups, and in my mind, how I enjoy books, if the couple goes last base, I'm expecting that to be the happy ending. It's a fantasy. That should be the combination of their love, and that should be the ending of it all. And I think many are desensitized of this topic, just like in Western movies and series, which amaze me. Take K-dramas, for example. You can spend 10 episodes of 1 hour each, with the main couple going back and forth until you finally have a kiss, and that feels a lot more fulfilling than having lots of bad action. This is just my opinion, but that's how the cookie crumbles. Corn sells, and writers are now more aware than ever. I'm not against it. I have my fair share of dark romances, and having a poor taste is a different thing. I just think it should stay on his own lane, and leaving things grow into the section when the time comes. But it is the internet, and that will be impossible. The least we can do is properly labeling books' content. One thing is having a little spice, another thing is having very detailed, smart sections and not having it labeled. If not for the kids, they should do it for those that don't enjoy smut as much. Nowadays, it is difficult to distinguish these books by the cover and print size. It would be nice to have some descriptions on the back that will tell you how much spice to expect. But that's just my opinion, and thank you for watching to the end, and I'll be reading the comments to see what you guys think about this topic.